Social media has turned ordinary people into global icons. Millions of followers, picture-perfect lives, and endless adoration. But behind the filters and hashtags, some harbor dark secrets of brutal crimes and cold-blooded murder. These are the 8 influencers who crossed the line. Starting with Kelsey Turner, Instagram glam girl and model for Playboy, Maxim, and 110. Her striking looks and curated selfies painted the picture of a life most people could only dream of, but which later turned into a nightmare with the murder of her sugar daddy. From bikini shots to daring tattoo pics and dimly lit nightclub selfies, Kelsey seemed to be living her best life. She had a particular fondness for editing her selfies to give herself a Bratz doll look, complete with oversized eyes and bold makeup. But behind the filters, Kelsey was a single mother of 2, struggling to make ends meet and feeling the pressures of getting older. The glamorous facade was starting to crack. But when Dr. Thomas Burchard, a rich, renowned child psychiatrist with a reputation for helping single mothers, reached out to her in 2016, Kelsey saw a golden opportunity. Over the course of 3 years, her new sugar daddy, Dr. Burchard, sent her over $300,000, fueling her lavish lifestyle. As his mental health declined, her demands only grew. She hardly needed to put in any effort either. Just an occasional sob story over the phone was enough to keep the money flowing. Eventually, Dr. Burchard realized he was being manipulated and decided to cut Kelsey off. But instead of accepting it, Kelsey retaliated. She threatened to ruin his career with accusations of him together with children. As a child psychiatrist, Dr. Burchard knew that this would destroy his life and career, so he gave in to Kelsey's demands. By early 2018, Kelsey had moved to Las Vegas, desperate for a fresh start after losing custody of one of her children. Dr. Burchard leased her a house there, but weeks went by without a word from her. Then, out of the blue, she texted him, claiming that her new boyfriend was abusive and that she was too sick to work. Concerned, Dr. Burchard decided to drive out and check on her himself. But on March 7, 2019, officers would find an abandoned Mercedes-Benz in the middle of the desert, and in the trunk, the bruised and battered, half-clothed body of Dr. Thomas Burchard.
Renowned psychiatrist Dr. Thomas Burchard had been missing for 3 days when his body was found in the trunk of an abandoned BMW in the desert outside of Las Vegas. Judy Earp, his girlfriend of 17 years, was back at their home in California and sensed the doctor was in trouble.
According to her testimony, Kelsey had discovered inappropriate pictures of her mother on Dr. Burchard's phone. Apparently, he had been contacted by her as well and agreed to support her. Enraged, Kelsey allegedly enlisted her boyfriend, John Kennison, to teach Thomas a lesson. What followed was horrific. John attacked Dr. Burchard with a metal bat, leaving him battered and lifeless. The couple attempted to cover their tracks, dumping the car with the body and fleeing the scene. But their attempts to escape justice were short-lived. Both were arrested and charged with murder.
After the murder, both Turner and Kennison fled to Stockton. That's where Turner was arrested 2 weeks later, while Kennison was picked up in Las Vegas about a month later.
In November 2022, Kelsey Turner and John Kennison were sentenced for their roles in the brutal killing.
Ms. Turner, in accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, you're hereby judged guilty of second-degree murder, a felony. I'm going to impose the $25 administrative assessment fee, the $3 DNA collection fee, $150 DNA fee, as well as the test to determine genetic markers. You're hereby sentenced to 10 to 25 years in the Nevada Department of Corrections. Additionally, there will be $2,817.34 to Nevada victims of crime and as joint and several with co-defendant Mr. Kennison. The extradition cost will be $2,280 to the Nevada Attorney General. You have 1,375 days credit time served toward that sentence.
From an Instagram model living a life of glitz and glam to what seemed to be just an ordinary teenager on TikTok, Claire Miller shared anime, video games, and lip sync clips with over 21,000 followers. But beneath her seemingly carefree posts laid a dark reality no one could have anticipated. Claire grew up in a close-knit, loving family in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Her older sister, Helen, 19, was born with cerebral palsy and needed round-the-clock care. She lived her life in a wheelchair. For the Millers, daily life was a delicate balance, taking care of Helen and the usual challenges of raising two daughters going through puberty. On a cold February night in 2021, everything changed. At just 14 years old, Claire made a frantic 911 call, her voice trembling as she admitted, "I did something really bad."
Here's what we know right now. Manheim Township Police say 14-year-old Claire Miller called police and said she had killed her sister. Investigators are now looking into her social media and technology profiles for clues.
When officers arrived at the Miller home, they were met with a horrific scene. Helen lay lifeless, her body bearing multiple stab wounds, Claire's hands and clothes covered in blood. How could a seemingly ordinary teenager known for TikTok videos commit such a violent act? Claire's arrest dominated national headlines. Strangely, her TikTok account gained 11,000 new followers in the wake of the tragedy, as morbid curiosity took hold of the internet. Charged as an adult, Claire's trial revealed a deeper, unsettling picture.
Lancaster County judge has ruled a teen accused of killing her sister will be staying in Lancaster County until her trial. 16-year-old Claire Miller will be tried as an adult. The judge determined Miller will stay in Lancaster County Youth Intervention Center until her trial scheduled for March. Earlier, she's been at the state prison in Muncie.
Courtroom testimonies painted her as a young girl wrestling with internal demons, moments of emotional detachment, unchecked mental health struggles, and unspoken frustrations. But none of this explained the violence of that night, leaving questions that may never be fully answered. From the quiet suburbs of Pennsylvania to a privileged life of luxury and fast cars in Florida, 18-year-old Cameron Herron appeared to be the all-American teen, a handsome young man with big dreams, a tight-knit group of friends, and a passion for speed. But this passion turned into an unhealthy obsession that led to the horrific death of a 24-year-old mother and her 1-year-old daughter.
Tampa police say two cars speeding and street racing down Bayshore Boulevard slammed into a young mother pushing her toddler across the street in a stroller.
Cameron's love for speed was more than just a hobby. Influenced by the car culture surrounding him, he embraced the thrill of racing. On the afternoon of May 23, 2018, Cameron, behind the wheel of his Ford Mustang GT, a graduation present from his parents, participated in a street race down Tampa's Bayshore Boulevard. Jessica Riesinger Robinalt, a 24-year-old mother, was crossing the boulevard with her 1-year-old daughter, Lilia, in a stroller. In an instant, Cameron's speeding car collided with Jessica and her baby. Both mother and daughter were struck with an impact so severe that Jessica died instantly, and Lilia a day later.
On a warm summer day of May of 2018, Jessica Rabinold and her 1-year-old daughter, Lilia, were killed on one of the most iconic and scenic roads in Tampa, Bayshore Boulevard. The mother and child were crossing the street when a Ford Mustang driven by Cameron Herron plowed into them. Jessica died instantly. Baby Lilia died a day later. Prosecutors say Herron, with his older brother Tristan in the passenger seat, were racing another driver, 17-year-old John Barano. Both Cameron Herron and John Barano were arrested.
The outcry was immediate. Tampa residents, heartbroken and enraged, demanded accountability for the senseless loss. Cameron was arrested. The street race now a deadly crime scene, with him being charged with 2 counts of vehicular homicide. The prosecution emphasized the dangerous speeds Cameron had reached, nearly 100 miles per hour. The judge condemned his actions as a reckless disregard for human life, and after months of trial, Cameron was sentenced to 24 years in prison.
On count 1, vehicular homicide, the court's going to adjudicate the defendant guilty, sentence him to 9 years in Florida State Prison. On count 2, same charge, court will adjudicate the defendant guilty, sentence him to 15 years Florida State Prison, and that'll run consecutive to count 1, for a total of 24 years Florida State Prison.
The decision sent shockwaves across social media, but not for the reasons you might expect. An unusual wave of sympathy for Cameron began to emerge online. Hashtags like Justice for Cameron and Free Cameron, as well as fan pages and viral TikTok clips, painted him as a tragic figure who made a mistake. His supporters argued that the sentence was excessive, saying he was just a kid. Critics, however, pushed back hard, condemning the movement, accusing supporters of romanticizing a fatal crime. There was no sympathy or hashtags for Trey Sesler, the YouTuber known as Mr. Anime, who in 2012 committed one of the most shocking murders in YouTube's history. Trey Sesler's YouTube channel, under the name Mr. Anime, focused primarily on reviewing popular anime series. He built a small but dedicated following. Known for his in-depth reviews and interest in the darker sides of anime, Trey was relatable and one of the first in the anime review niche on YouTube. He inspired many others to create similar YouTube channels. By 2011, Trey's channel has started to gain traction, but behind the scenes, he was dealing with personal struggles and possibly mental health issues. In the months leading up to 2012, Trey's content began to change. He started discussing his fascination with weapons, often showing his own firearms collection on the channel. Friends and family later described his fascination with violence, true crime, and mass murders. On March 20th, 2012, in a quiet neighborhood of Waller, Texas, Trey committed a brutal act that would shock his friends and followers. He shot and killed his mother, father, and older brother in their own home.
A son in jail tonight accused of murdering his mother, his father, and his brother. New tonight, Local 2 Investigates has learned that Trey Sesler may have been plotting a much larger attack in a public place.
Investigators discovered that Trey had first convinced his mother to come outside the house to look at his car parked in the garage, and then proceeded to shoot her with a .22 caliber rifle. He then went to his room to retrieve a Glock semi-automatic pistol with 9mm rounds and shot his older brother twice. After that, he turned to his father, who had been taking a nap, but woke up due to the sound of gunshots. Trey shot him twice as well. He decided to go back and finish off his brother, who was still alive, and managed to lock himself in the bathroom. He was shot through the door and made sure his brother was dead. The horror did not end there. He went back to get another rifle, an AR-15 with .223 caliber, and shot his mother again twice in the chest. Back to his brother for another 2 shots to the head, and then his father, ensuring beyond all doubt his family was dead. Then he destroyed and ransacked the home before taking a nap next to his dead mother's body. He reportedly wanted to practice on his family before committing a larger act of violence against the public. He planned to do a mass killing of up to 70 people.
Investigators now say that the suspected gunman who killed his whole family at their home nearby this spot, well, he had a big plan to shoot a lot of people in a public gathering place. That's why the FBI joined raid teams here at this home, where he was often seen carrying guns in with friends. He would often hang out at this home, and so these investigators are just wrapping up their search inside. We saw them carrying in shovels. We also saw them taking out some pieces of boards that appeared to have been shot, and that's what they are focusing on, trying to figure out what evidence they can find about this wider plot to kill a lot of people.
Trey was quickly arrested after the killings. In court, he admitted to planning the murders and expressed regret, but provided no clear explanation. He was ultimately sentenced to life in prison without parole. Unlike Mr. Anime, the next YouTuber had a far smaller following, but an equally shocking story. Samantha Wolfhard, a small-time YouTuber, portrayed herself as a victim, but one police interview shattered her carefully crafted persona, revealing a dark truth that no one saw coming. Samantha's YouTube channel offered a glimpse into her life as a young mother of 5 and the challenges of marriage. Her audience sympathized with her candid stories about her struggles to find happiness. But behind the camera, the reality was far from the story Samantha told. Her husband, Ernie Ibarra, wasn't the controlling villain she painted him to be. He was a hard-working father, holding down 2 jobs to provide for their family, while Samantha spent more and more time chasing her dreams of becoming internet royalty. However, on February 20th, 2015, Ernie was brutally attacked, kidnapped from their home, and later found dead, shot execution style in the back of the head.
I was in bed asleep, and we heard a noise, and the second I was able to open my eyes, somebody grabbed me and jerked me out of the bed and slammed me down on the ground and started tying me up.
Didn't recognize anything about...
They had black masks on, black shirts, black pants. Every inch of skin was covered. Then when they dragged me downstairs, because they had him downstairs and they were separating us, I went downstairs and his face was covered in blood.
Do you know what they were hitting him with?
A gun.
Samantha took to YouTube, detailing the events of that night. She portrayed herself as a grieving widow, recounting the terror and emotional trauma she claimed to have endured. But something didn't sit right with investigators. Samantha's story felt rehearsed, riddled with inconsistencies. And then came the slip. During a police interview, Samantha mentioned details about the crime she couldn't possibly have known, unless she'd been involved. Investigators dug deeper and uncovered a chilling truth. Samantha hadn't been a victim. She'd been the mastermind behind Ernie's murder, even going so far as to send messages to the killers to destroy Ernie's phone because the police were trying to track it. The plot began when Samantha befriended Jonathan Kyle Sanford, a recently released felon. She confided in him about her supposed abusive husband, and Sanford suggested a way to solve her problem. With the help of 2 accomplices, Jose Antonio Ponce and Octavius Rhymes, Sanford devised a plan to plant methamphetamines in Ernie's car to frame him. But the plan changed. On the day of the murder, Samantha drove with her children and the 3 men to buy the methamphetamines. Sanford later made a chilling proposal. Why frame Ernie when they could simply kill him? All Samantha had to do was leave the front door unlocked. Fueled by meth, the 3 men carried out the gruesome attack, while Samantha stayed behind, ready to spin her story. In the aftermath, Samantha used her husband's death as a twisted springboard for attention. She positioned herself as a survivor, gaining sympathy and views on her channel. Samantha was arrested, found guilty, and received a 99-year prison sentence to be served consecutively with a 50-year sentence for kidnapping.
Did you Mirandize her? No, sir. We're going to Mirandize her. You're about to be placed under arrest. Let me tell you something. You screwed up the other day, and I'm going to talk to you if you want to Mirandize you, but you're about to be arrested.
Okay.
You set this whole dead thing up.
No,
yeah, you did. No, you damn sure did. Don't sit there and that bullcrap back to me.
I did not. I swear I did not set it up.
Yeah, you did set it up, and we proved it. We proved it. You set it up. You're a murderer.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you're a murderer.
No, I'm not.
Unlike Samantha, who had a small following and wanted to be the star of the show, Michelle Hobson allegedly abused her 7 children who starred in her YouTube channel, Fantastic Adventures. Launched in 2011, Fantastic Adventures became a popular family channel on YouTube with close to 1 million subscribers and over 250 million views. On the surface, it looked like a wholesome family channel. The children featured in these videos were mostly adopted. Many were young, often just toddlers or preteens. They were assigned roles in the channel's various adventures, where they played characters in stories that Michelle directed.
And I'm Summer, and we're from Fantastic Adventures. And we've been searching for a Stream Toys TV's house. And we finally found it. Ethan and Cole always think they're good at sneak attack. But we're better, and we're gonna film it to prove it. Let's do it.
While Michelle projected a friendly and loving persona on camera, the reality off-screen was far darker. Over time, it was revealed that she would frequently punish her children when they didn't meet performance standards or refused to participate. In 2018, after years of alleged abuse and earning up to $300,000 in that year alone, Michelle's biological 19-year-old daughter came forward, reporting the mistreatment. When the police began to investigate, other children came forward, corroborating the disturbing stories. The authorities uncovered a chilling pattern of abuse. Michelle allegedly pepper sprayed the children on their genitals, beat them with belts and wire clothes hangers, locked them in closets days at a time, even withheld food and water, all if they did not perform well for the YouTube channel. In 2019, Michelle was arrested and indicted on 30 counts, including kidnapping, child abuse, and aggravated assault.
Were these young YouTube stars tortured and abused to get them to perform for the camera? Those are the shocking claims being made against their adoptive mom.
A woman who adopted 7 children and used them to make social media videos is now under arrest.
Michelle maintained that she was merely disciplining her children and claimed her methods were justified, but died of a head injury before the trial completed. Just like Michelle, Nicola "Nikki" Priest had a problem with children, and in 2020 was involved in a gruesome act of violence against her own child. Nikki was an avid TikToker. Her clips were filled with dancing, funny skits, and loving motherly moments with her 3-year-old daughter, Kaylee Jade Priest. She came across as just another fun-loving influencer living the good life. But behind the smile and charm was a much darker side to her story. As with every loving parent, the care and nurturing of their children comes first. Nikki's daughter Kaylee should have been her priority above all else. But as her TikTok following grew, so did Nikki's need for attention and gratification. Nikki, 23 years old, struggled with balancing her role as a TikToker, mother, and young woman trying to maintain her romantic relationships. It seems she began seeing her daughter as a hindrance to her personal desires. On the morning of August 9th, 2020, everything took a deadly turn. Emergency services received a call for Nikki. When paramedics arrived on the scene at 11:17 a.m., they found Nikki on the bed, crying out in distress, "I don't think she's alive." Poor Kaylee was on the floor, lying on her back in her PJs. While trying to resuscitate Kaylee, paramedics realized that the child had already been dead for quite some time. Her body was stiff and lips had turned purple. Nikki told paramedics that she and her new boyfriend, Callum Redfern, had put Kaylee to bed around 7 p.m. the night before. Kaylee had woken up sick and vomited on 3 separate occasions during the evening. Once paramedics cut open Kaylee's pajama top, they were horrified to discover suspicious marks on her torso, as well as bruises and a red abrasion on her chest. The paramedics also noticed that Kaylee's room was totally barren. Only a mattress on the dirty floor without covers or blankets, no curtains or blinds. This prompted an investigation by the police to understand what happened to sweet little Kaylee. Nikki mourned her daughter by posting TikTok videos with messages like, "R.I.P. my baby." On another clip, she filmed herself crying and lip-syncing to the song "To My Parents." After this, another post saying, "I love you so much, darling. Mommy will never forget you ever. R.I.P. Angel." Then, just a day later, Nikki was back to her old self, posting videos of her dancing with captions like, "Way too serious dancing always helps me." Shortly after, another TikTok video about her new makeup with the caption, "Love my new makeup, purchase everything goes perfect." Little Kaylee had not even been dead for 2 months. By September, police had enough evidence to arrest Nikki and Callum, charging them with the murder of 3-year-old Kaylee. The post-mortem concluded that Kaylee died due to chest injuries consistent with that of being punched, kicked, or stamped on. During the trial in June 2021, evidence was revealed of messages between Nikki and Callum discussing ending her daughter Kaylee. And the two discussed over chat how they would discipline little Kaylee. Also, witness testimonies showed Nikki's alleged history of abuse towards her daughter. Nikki and Callum were quick to point the finger at each other. After trial, the judge said he was convinced that both Nikki and Callum were responsible for the death of Kaylee. Although there was no direct evidence to prove it, the judge believed that Nikki and Callum wanted some intimate time together, but Kaylee, like most 3-year-olds, disrupted those plans, needing attention and wanting to play. They took their frustration out on the little girl, which ultimately led to her death. As it was not premeditated or planned, Nikki was found guilty and received a sentence of 15 years for manslaughter and 3 years for child cruelty to be served concurrently. Callum was found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 14 years imprisonment. From a TikToker whose pursuit of validation led to the tragic death of her own daughter, Elliot Rodger was a YouTuber who went on a killing spree because he was consumed by hatred and rejection. He shared his frustrations concerning women and the fact that he was still alone and still a virgin on his channel. His bitterness would eventually culminate in the horrific Isla Vista mass murders that left 6 dead and 14 wounded.
It all has to come to this. I'm 22 years old, and I'm still a virgin. I've never even kissed a girl. You forced me to suffer all my life, and now I'll make you all suffer. I've waited a long time for this. I'll give you exactly what you deserve, all of you. All you girls who rejected me and looked down upon me, and all of you men for living a better life than me, all of you sexually active men. I hate you. I hate all of you. I can't wait to give you exactly what you deserve.
Elliot lived a privileged life. His father, Peter Anthony Rodger, a British filmmaker, photographer, and commercial director known for his work on The Hunger Games, and his mother, Ong Lee Chin Tai, who also worked in film. From as young as 8 years old, it seemed that Elliot had mental health issues. At the age of 16, he started to see a psychiatrist and was diagnosed with pervasive developmental disorder, which is an autistic disorder. He took various medications to help with his mental health issues, including risperidone, an atypical antipsychotic used to treat schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, as well as irritability associated with autism. He often mentioned on his YouTube blogs that he refused to take his medication. He called himself the Supreme Gentleman, but would later be given the title King of the Incels, which is an online community of young men who consider themselves unable to attract women sexually. He documented everything on YouTube, his struggles with loneliness and hatred for the world that rejected him. What started as a series of rants quickly spiraled into a terrifying manifesto. In the months leading up to the tragedy, he became consumed with a sense of injustice. He uploaded videos saying it was unfair that girls were not attracted to him.
I've been doing a lot of thinking about how sad and unfair my life has been. All because girls haven't been attracted to me.
That he was beautiful, sophisticated, dressed nice, had a BMW, and that girls' sexual attraction was flawed because they chose other men who did not deserve them, and he was the ultimate gentleman. In December 2012, Elliot purchased his first gun, a Glock 34 long slide semi-automatic, and then in March 2013, a SIG Sauer P226. Not long before the mass murder, police came to visit him. They received a tip from someone who had watched his YouTube channel, fearing he was unstable. Unfortunately, they did not see the guns, the ammunition, or his 137-page manifesto detailing his plans. They left after Elliot told them he was well and did not have any suicidal thoughts. On May 23, 2014, at the young age of 22, Elliot's planned retribution was implemented.
Is the day of retribution. The day in which I will have my revenge against humanity, against all of you.
Although originally the plan included driving to his father's home and killing his stepmother and stepbrother first, this would only happen if his father was out of town because he didn't want to hurt him. However, his father's out-of-town trip was canceled at the last minute, so Elliot decided to not implement this part of the plan and skipped to the next stage, which was to kill his 2 roommates, George Chen and Cheng Yuan, James Hong, as well as their friend who happened to be visiting at the time, Wei-Han David Wang. He stabbed them to death with a staggering 142 stab wounds shared between the 3 men. 7:38 p.m. Elliot buys a triple vanilla latte from Starbucks after stabbing to death his 2 roommates and their friend. 9:17 p.m. He uploads his final video to his YouTube channel called Elliot Rogers Retribution. 9:18 p.m. 1 minute later, he emails his 137-page manifesto to 34 people. This included his parents, other family members, his therapist, former school teachers, and childhood friends. His therapist would go on to contact his mother within 5 minutes of the email being sent. His mother, Ong Lee Chin Tai, then contacted his father, Peter, and also the police. Both parents raced to Elliot, but it was too late. After sending the email, Elliot drove to the Alpha Phi sorority house, a popular all-girls sorority that Elliot thought was part of the problem.
On the day of retribution, I am going to enter the hottest sorority house of UCSB.
He was unable to get inside, so instead, he shot 3 women nearby. Veronica Weiss and Catherine Cooper were killed. The 3rd woman, Bianca DeCock, was wounded. He then drove further into town on Pardell Road. While on foot, he shot into a deli, killing a student, Christopher Michaels Martinez.
Okay. Thank you.
He then returned to his vehicle and started shooting at pedestrians as well as ramming into them with his car. He had 2 shootouts with the police. However, in the second police encounter, they managed to shoot Elliot in the left hip. He crashed his BMW into a cyclist at an intersection. Having nowhere else to go, Elliot proceeded to shoot himself in the head. Police found him dead in his vehicle from a self-inflicted gunshot wound at 9:35 p.m. In addition to the 6 homicides, there were 14 injured, 7 from gunfire and 7 from getting hit by his BMW.